Good morning, everyone. Welcome to BYJU'S Exam Prep. My name is Alpa Sharma, and this is our daily editorial analysis. Am I clearly visible and audible? I don't think I'm visible on YouTube. Mahita, can you hear and see me clearly? Can you hear and see me clearly, everyone? Good morning, Arshia, Kinza, Achal. Am I visible and audible on YouTube as well? Hi, everyone. Good morning. Yes, visible and audible in the app as well. Looks like that. For some reason, it wasn't visible initially, but now it looks like it's absolutely fine. Okay, guys, so good to see you back after 2 long days. Yes, clearly visible and audible. Good morning, everyone. I am absolutely good, and I hope all of you are absolutely doing great as well. So, आज क्या करने वाले हैं क्लास में और एक important announcement भी करना है. Arshia, it should happen this week. You know, we are in the process of overhauling a lot of things on our YouTube channel. So it should happen this week. Okay. Now, let's see what are we going to do today. Today is 2nd of May and I have taken 2 articles, and both the articles that I've taken are from the Guardian. Both the articles are from the Guardian. And I would be changing my methodology of making you understand these articles a little. I would first ask you to read every page and then we would talk about that. Because I think at least one of these articles you certainly haven't read. Because the second article that I've bought is not from the recent past. It's a very old article that I stumbled upon and I loved it. So I think we should be taking those articles, and I'll give you ample of time to first go through the article, and that's when we'll have a discussion about that. I've got all the vocabulary out of these 2 articles that we're going to be discussing. In the end, we'll discuss the tone of the author. You can write down the summary of these articles under my video in the comment section. And towards the end of the class, we shall be discussing the important editorials from various sources. Hi everyone. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning everyone. The Guardian, we on Scotland's May election. Okay. Did you read that article? I haven't bought that article though. You know, I usually don't bring articles on elections, Ragini. So I haven't bought that article. ठीक है? So ये idea है आज की classes का. 2 articles हैं Guardian के. दोनों पहले पढ़ेंगे. आप पढ़ना, मैं pause करूंगी. And then उसके बाद हम discussion करेंगे उस चीज का. ठीक है? Second article थोड़ा पुराना है, काफी पुराना है इनफैक्ट, बट बहुत बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग आर्टिकल है और एक ऐसे टॉपिक पे है जिस पे आर्टिकल्स बहुत फ्रीक्वेंटली आ सकते हैं. So that's the idea of the class. So are we ready to start with the vocabulary? Movies, KD sir is going to do that this week. Don't worry, in the revision classes, KD sir has that planned. Okay, so he will be taking that. The only problem I'm facing overcome. Okay, long passages, he will do that. Hi Bitu, good morning. I'm absolutely fine. I hope you're good too. चलो आगे बढ़ते हैं. Let's start with vocabulary. Okay, so slide number 1. Otherworldly, as if ये किसी और world को belong करता हो. It doesn't belong to our world. It's an imaginary one, something that is not a part of our worldly things. So music of an almost otherworldly beauty. Can we say A.R. Rahman's music? When you listen to his music from maybe Rockstar or any other popular movie that he's made, looks like, it sounds like it's an otherworldly beauty, his music. It doesn't belong to our world. It's more of a spiritual thing. That's otherworldly. Okay. The next one, fronds. So fronds are basically, आपने ferns देखे हैं? Fern leaf. They are usually इस shape में होते हैं, with a lot of small feather-like things going like this. Okay, usually इस shape में होते हैं. So जो fern shape होता है, palm shape होता है, ऐसी leaves को हम fronds बोलते हैं. Okay, the fronds of bracket, fronds like leaves like fern or palm are fronds. Okay. Dystopian is also an example of otherworldly. Yeah. But dystopian is rather more associated with our world. Utopian is an example of otherworldly. Okay. Okay. So, needle-like. Yes, Ambika. Needle-like is fronds. Correct. Supernatural for otherworldly. Yes. Correct. Okay. ठीक है, आगे बढ़ते हैं. Oh, right. Okay. Anemones are sea creatures. अब आपको समझ में आ गया. We're going to be taking something about sea life and marine life and sea creatures, an article about them. So anemones are sea creatures. These are animals. और बहुत सारे और ऐसे sea animals, aquatic animals mentioned in the passage. I have not bought all of them. I bought only one of it so that you can understand. Tentacles होते हैं, large mouth होता है, और stinging tentacles होते हैं. This is an example of an aquatic marine animal that's found. So that's anemones, and many more are mentioned in the passage. No synonym to that. Fronds, Ali, fronds basically needle-like leaves होती हैं. Okay, pointy ended, not sharp but pointy ended. That these are fronds. ठीक है, आया सबको समझ में fronds? Okay, ठीक है, आगे चलते हैं. With canopies. Canopies I'm sure आपने देखा होगा. Usually tent like structure होता है जो हम टेरेस पे बनाते हैं, balconies में बनाते हैं, open gardens में canopies होती हैं, school fetes में canopies होती हैं, जहां मेला लगता है वहां canopies बनी होती हैं. They are tent like structure. Okay, so usually या फिर हम शादियों में canopies लगाते हैं cover करने के लिए कि बारिश आ जाएगी, so we are protected from the rain. So romantic 4-poster bed complete with drapes and canopy. अच्छा, मतलब it's basically a bed with a covering at the top. Very fancy. Usually that's called a canopy. A large, huge tent-like covering is a canopy. So slide number 1. जल्दी से screenshot ले लो. बहुत सारे new words हैं, right? कानू ध्यान रखना. Okay? हाँ, exactly ऋषभ. वो example हो गया फ्रांस का. Okay? चलो, now that I have so many people live, एक announcement कर देती हूँ before I take you to the next class. This week onwards, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, we would have our Hindu editorial analysis, जिसका नाम तो हम हिंदू रखते हैं, but Hindu articles आजकल rare होते हैं. The editorial analysis would happen only on Monday, Wednesday and Friday, 10 a.m. Monday and Wednesday हम दो important articles discuss करेंगे. Friday हम last 6 months के important articles का revision करेंगे with discussing one article as well from any editorial source that I seen is important. So कल हमारे YT channel पे editorial class नहीं होगी. After this class ends, I'll see you back on Wednesday. So 2 days of editorial discussion and 1 day of last 6 months revision. Okay? Canvas बोल सकते हो आप? Yes. Good morning everyone. Tomorrow no class. Yes, Ragini. Okay? Tuesday, Thursdays, no classes. Okay? So, no, I will not come daily now. ठीक है? Revision on Friday. Revision last 6 months के important articles जो मैं आपके साथ share करूंगी, link से share करूंगी, article share करूंगी. I'll tell you about the background जो आपने last 6 months में शायद miss कर दिए होंगे, about that. And alternate days, first 2 weeks I would not have any classes with you. By the end of the second and the third week, I'll bring more revision classes with you. And my revision classes timing would be fixed at 8 p.m. in the night. They would start by the second or the third week of May. Okay, second week of May very likely. And they would happen at 8 p.m. in the night. ठीक है? Fair enough? No, Ali, I would not. No. ये फर्स्ट स्लाइड है शाही, ठीक है? ओके, चलो लेट्स स्टार्ट, लेट्स कंटिन्यू विथ स्लाइड नंबर 2. So Tanu, you will have to figure that out, my child. I would not be live. Slide number 2. Sequesters. Sequesters are hidden, invisible, and isolated. These are usually places. While sequester spot, I'm sure आपके city में you would know of some sequester spot which is hidden. A lot of people don't come there. It's beautiful. It's quiet. It's isolated. These are sequester spots, sequester places that are hidden and isolated. Okay. Violet, this is all that I would be coming live for. Okay. हाँ तो कल छुट्टी है शाही. Yes. Concealed, remote, hidden. All of these are. Hi Ritik. All of these are solitary synonyms to sequesters. Secret, yeah. Next, plummeted. A sudden drop is at a high speed is plummeted. So the climber was killed when he plummeted 300 feet down an icy gully. Sad. Sudden drop with a high accelerated speed is plummeted. Okay. The next one is run amok. Run amok is behave in an uncontrolled. Kids run amok when they're left open. Okay? Or maybe when they're in a birthday party, they run amok. They are beyond control. They're so excited. The kids are running amok around the house because they're hungry maybe. So that's run amok. Okay. ईद तो कल है ना, आज ईद नहीं है, कल है ईद. कल छुट्टी भी है. You can celebrate. Nosedive. Yes, nosedive is a synonym. Correct. Nosedive. Depreciation, slide, uncontrollable, drop, collapse. Yeah, these are synonyms. Next one is downward, unrestricted run amok ka ho gaya. Yeah, uncontrollable run amok ka synonym ho gaya. Then we have downward spiral. Downward spiral is something that's getting either severe or decreasing in its effectivity, is downward spiral. So her life was in a downward spiral as she battled depression and addiction. So the life was deteriorating. It was getting worse. The movement was downward. Okay. So plummeted can be a related word to downward spiral. Khalid hai, yes. Okay. So out of hand for run amok here. Mitigate for downward spiral. Related word हो गया माहिता, exact synonym तो नहीं होगा बच्चे. Okay. Getting worse. Yes, Anjali. Getting worse is a synonym to downward spiral. Yeah, they're related, Tanu. They are. Slide number 2 screenshot ले लिया. Let's move to slide number 3, everyone. Slide number 3. Incapacitation. Usually, the body is in a situation where you are unable to function, maybe paralytic condition or amputation. So you are basically you don't have the capacity to function properly. That's incapacitation. Usually that also incapable ke saath aata hai. Okay. And it can be by incarceration of a person. Okay. So historically by execution or banishment, and in more modern times by execution and lengthy periods of incarceration can also be incapacitation. Okay. Incapable of doing something. So usually वो physical incapability भी हो सकती है. It could be by putting somebody behind the bars as well. Isolation related word हो गया human rights इसका. Decline, fall, drop, sink. ये सब spiral down. Yes, Ragini, correct. Incapable of doing the crime, incapacitation. Yes. Decreasing the effectiveness for downward spiral. Yes. Okay. Paleopathology. What is paleo? What does that root word mean? Who's going to tell me? अच्छा, by the way, guys, एक बात और बता देती हूँ मैं आपको. Now that I would not be seeing you every day, I would be seeing you alternate days. Usually the classes would be longer than an hour. Usually they would be. Today it certainly would be because I've got 2 long articles today. Okay? Paralyzed, crippled, disabled, immobilized. Yes, Arshia, these are synonyms for incapacitation. Okay? What is paleo? What does paleo mean? Old? Yeah? You don't know that? Nobody knows it? Paleo is for old. And then we have pathology. Pathology is studying diseases. Yeah, pathos is disease. So studying the branch of science that is concerned with pathological conditions found in ancient humans, because paleo is old. So ancient humans, animals, उनकी remains में जब हम diseases की conditions देखते हैं, that's paleopathology. Interesting, sounds interesting, right? कि पहले क्या diseases होते थे? Studying that. Yes, paleo is ancient, correct. Paleo is not disease. Pathos is disease. Okay? Ancient, old is paleo. Hi Shubham, good morning. Alright, chalo, aage chalte. Last, stereotype. A woman should stay at home, should not work, should always keep warm food ready for the men when they arrive to the home. Is that a stereotype that I'm referring to? A fixed image that you have in your mind in the society is a stereotype. A stereotype of the woman as the carer. The woman has to be the carer. So that's a stereotype. ठीक है, एक image बना लिया आपने, एक standard, that's stereotype. शाही, मैंने क्लास ली है बच्चे, मेरी वीडियो देख लेना. I had taken that article, negative liberty. One specific thinking, cliche, traditional rituals. Yeah, cliche, synonym हुआ. Orthodox, rigid, all of these are synonyms to stereotypes. Okay? Yeah. Roundup daily नहीं होगा रिया, Monday, Wednesday और Friday को ही होगा. ठीक है? I have 88 people live. Did you pay my Guru Dakshina, everyone? Please do that. Please like the session, share the session. Okay? Thank you if you have done that already. Slide number 3, screenshot ले लो जल्दी से और फिर start करते हैं article. Fixing in one image is stereotype. Yes. Conventional, standardized, traditional, orthodoxy, perception, all are synonyms. Typecast, standardized, hackneyed. Yes, they are. Okay, slide number 3, done everyone. Now before I show you the first article, if you're targeting CLAT 2023, jaldi se enroll kar lo. A comprehensive combo course has been launched. December mein CLAT hoga. If you start sooner, it's going to be better for you. I expect you to enroll yourself right away at the earliest. Speak to our counselors on this number if you want to know more about the program. Now, so this is the article, the first article that I've bought. Warmer ocean. No, we'll start with the second article first. Okay. Ancient bones that tell a story of compassion. This is the first article we'll read. Okay. So I'm going to keep quiet for a minute. I want you to read this page. Send me a done when you're done. And that's when we'll start discussing. Beautifully written article. It's an old one, but I could not miss this out. Carer. Vaishnavi, the one who takes care. बच्चे, रिया, एंशियंट टाइम्स में लोगों को क्या क्या डिजीजेस होते थे उसकी स्टडी करने के साइंस को हम पैलियोपैथोलॉजी बोलते हैं. ओके, रीड दिस वन एवरीवन. This is from The Guardian. Done? Yes. Okay, let's understand this. So, when we go back, when we read about our history, when we talk about ancient men, civilization, we know wars and brutality have been ages and ages old. We've heard so many stories about them. आप इंडियन हिंदू mythology देखो, ग्रीक mythology देखो, किसी भी तरीके का आप क्रिश्चियनिटी देखो, आप कोई भी religion देखो, brutality थी, and it was an inevitable part of our ancient times. But looking at skeletons, it's found that taking care of the sick and disabled also was a part of the older times. It wasn't something different. So जितना imperative brutality और war था, उतना ही imperative sick का ध्यान रखना और disabled का ध्यान रखना था. ये कैसे पता चला? How did we know that? Let's read that. Something like this can easily come in the examination. So I think that's really, really important. Okay. A very old article, yet. क्यों बंद करना है शोले? ये क्या बात हो रही है? न्यूज़पेपर पढ़ना बंद करना क्यों है? Why? I don't think so. You should be doing that. It's a habit that will keep you on track with a lot of things, including reading habit. Please don't stop reading newspapers. Please don't do this mistake. I've been teaching for the last 12 years. That comes out from a lot of experience. Okay, so this is the claim of the author that the author makes here, introductory paragraph. Then let's see what does he do. As some archaeologists suggesting a closer, more systematic look at how prehistoric people who may have left only their bones. आज हमारे पास सिर्फ उनकी bones है, skeletons है, जिससे हम study कर सकते हैं. They probably treated illness, injury, and incapacitation as well. Probably if somebody was paralyzed, they would have tried to treat them. Call in the archaeology of healthcare. So looked like healthcare was visible there as well. We have so many stories of healthcare. Healthcare in terms of अब आप उसको religion से जोड़ो, अब आप उसको physical healthcare से जोड़ो. We have n number of stories, but that's visible in archaeology as well. The case that led these two people of Australian National University to this idea is that of now this is a further description of how this opinion is justifiable. So this is the author's argument, opinion, and he's trying to justify this. How? So they had found a profoundly ill young man who lived 4,000 years ago in what is now northern Vietnam and was buried, as were others in his culture, at a site known as Man Bat. What happened? What did they find in the site? Read this. Look at the picture of the burial 9. Read this page and send me a done. Do you see the explanation here? Do you see the justification? How do we know that he was taken care of? Reading this page, how do you know that burial 9 was taken care of? Or maybe he was treated. How do you know that? Reading this page. Who's going to tell me? How do we know reading this page that burial 9 was taken care of or treatments were tried? Because he lived 10 more years than he normally should have. That means people were helping him. He could not do his regular work. He probably couldn't walk, clean himself, feed himself. There were people doing it for him. They were feeding him, they were cleaning him, because he lived for 10 years additional to what he otherwise would have lived. This line tells us. So burial line, exactly, this is the image of the skeleton, and the bones were bent, and because of the study they knew that he was crippled by a disease and he was paralyzed from waist down while he was even before adolescent. Yet he lived for 10 more years because there were people taking care of him. Yes. So that is what it means, which explains he was treated or probably taken care of. Next page. They concluded that the people around him who had no metal and lived by fishing, hunting, and raising barely domesticated pigs took time and care to tend to his everyday need. There were people taking care of him. They had no metal. They would only fish and domesticate pigs, or maybe some farming as well. They did not do anything else. People around him. Yet his needs were being taken care of. There's an emotional experience in excavating any human being, a feeling of awe, because you know about the past. There's an emotional connect when you see that he was being taken care of. So to tell the story with as much accuracy and humanity as we can, that's the burden on their shoulders. They have to exactly tell us how humanity still prevailed at that time and how accurate can they be. This case and other similar, if less extreme examples of illness and disability have prompted Ms. Tilly and Oxenham to ask what the dimensions of such a story are. What care for the sick and injured says about the culture they provided it. So this is not the only example that they have. They have studied other skeletons and they have a lot of information about how incapacitated were taken care of. Yes, and how probably they were being tried to be treated. The archaeologist described the extent of burial lines disability in a paper in 2009. 2 years later, they returned to the case to address the issue of healthcare head-on. That means healthcare does not necessarily mean treating a disease. Healthcare can be dealing with a disease that cannot be treated, yet making life easier for the sufferer. Do you get this, everyone? That's exactly what healthcare is. Providing you with treatment, but if there is a body that's in a vegetative state, or if there's a disease that cannot be treated, if we make life easier for the incapacitated, that also surmounts to be a part of the healthcare. This study of the burial line described how healthcare was back then, 4,000 years back. The provision and receipt of healthcare may therefore reflect some of the most fundamental aspects of a culture. A culture completely nurtured with healthcare. Inevitable part of it. The two archaeologists wrote in their journal of paleopathology. Let's look at the next page. Like cancer maybe. Yeah, exactly. Next page. Read this page and send me a done. Everyone, read this and send me a done. Another new aspect coming out here. Done? Do you see another aspect here? The second aspect that the author brings out here is that it was not only the care that was given to him, it was his own will as well. His own worth and a strong will to live was equally important. Without that, he couldn't have stayed alive. So it was the care provided by the carers, caregivers, and his own will and his own valuation of his worth that may be completely mental was important for his survival as well. So not only the first half that we had discussed, his own mental health. I'm obviously not the first archaeologist to notice the evidence of people who needed help to survive in Stone Age or other early cultures, she said. Come on, it was nothing that came out of the blue. Suddenly unko skeleton mila aur unko laga, oh, he was taken care of. No, there were previous works that explain the same thing as well. Among archaeologists' finds, she says, she knows about 30 cases in which the disease or pathology was so severe they must have had care in order to survive. Otherwise, they would not have survived. It was so difficult for them to be survived, to be able to survive on their own. And she said there are certainly more such cases to be described. I'm totally confident that there are almost any number of cases where direct support or accommodation was necessary. That is, direct support, accommodation, possibly all these 30 cases, all of them talk about the same, along with the will that they have. Okay? The will to live, the tolerance. Yes. Correct. Let's move to the next page, everyone. Looks like it's the highest number of people who've joined me live in the app ever. I've never seen so many people live in the app. Good to see you guys. Okay. आगे चलते हैं. आगे क्या होता है देखो. Okay, I'm sure you've read about Neanderthals. You know who these are? Neanderthals एक ऐसा टर्म है जो कि CLAT की हिस्ट्री में बहुत बार आ चुका है. CLAT या अदर लॉ एंट्रेंस एग्जामिनेशंस के बारे में अगर आप देखते हो तो. So that's exactly why I couldn't miss this article. Do you know who Neanderthals are? Do you want me to tell you who these are? Were rather. Exactly. Yes, yes, human rights. Perfect explanation of what I wanted to say. It did it? Falguni, oh, I'm impressed. So you know about Neanderthals. Okay. Read this. Okay, I'll tell you. देखो, Neanderthals were prehistoric बेसिकली ह्यूमंस, आप होमो सेपियंस बोलोगे उनको, बट अभी जो करंट आपने देखा होगा ना, एक हम यूजुअली पिक्चर्स देखते हैं कैसे हम एप से धीरे धीरे हम आज ह्यूमंस बन के आए हैं. सो उसी इवोल्यूशन के प्रोसेस में निएंडरथैल्स भी एक स्टेप था, वेयर या एंसेस्टर्स ऑफ होमो सेपियंस. एग्जैक्टली तनु. इनके टिपिकल कैरेक्टरिस्टिक्स क्या थे? टिपिकल कैरेक्टरिस्टिक्स वर शॉर्टर हाइट, ओके, बिगर नोज, broader mouth, broader lower half, basically broader lower half, and angled cheeks. These were typical characteristics of Neanderthals. They are extinct now. We today look like this, but these were ancient Homo sapiens. Now we find a lot of skeletons of Neanderthals as well, and by studying Neanderthals as well, these archaeologists have this similar interpretation what was discussed in the previous pages. Read this page and send me a done. Exactly, Anushka. Yes. Amputate is basically limbs cut off. जब limbs काट देते हैं, decapitate is head cut कर देना, amputate is limbs, hands या legs cut कर देना, is amputate. Done? Okay, now let's read this. So, these cases were visible in Neanderthals as well. where one Neanderthal skeleton was found in Iraq dating 45,000 years ago. 45,000 years ago. Who died around the age of 50 with one arm amputated, loss of vision in one eye, and other injuries. So, pretty much decapacitated. Another is Windover boy from around 7,500 years ago in Florida who had severe congenital spinal malformation known as this and lived around age of 15. Now, a congenital spinal malformation yet surviving around the age of 15. One arm amputated, loss of vision in one eye, other injuries yet surviving till the age of 50. That means they were being taken care of, otherwise they wouldn't have been able to survive. D.N. Dickel and G.H. Doran from Florida wrote the original paper in the case in 1989. And do you know, I was born even before this. I feel so old reading this. आपके लिए तो ये ancient होगा ना क्या 1980s? ये कैसा time था? And they concluded that the contrary to popular stereotypes of prehistoric people, under some conditions life 7,500 years ago included an ability and willingness to help and sustain chronically ill and handicapped. That means, can I say, humanity possibly prevailed back then as well, possibly even stronger than what it is today. क्योंकि आज तो हम खाली बुलडोजर चला रहे हैं, है ना? तुम्हारी भी दुकान तोड़ेंगे, तुम्हारी भी दुकान तोड़ेंगे. So the ability and willingness to help and sustain the chronically ill and handicapped was visible, clearly visible in all these examples that the author has quoted. Can I say all these examples are a part of premise only repeating? That's a disease, Ragini. Can I say all of these examples are repeating or focusing on the same argument mentioned in the first paragraph again and again? Yes, correct. In other well-known case, the skeleton of a teenage boy found at site in Italy in 80s and dating 10,000 years ago showed a form of severe dwarfism that left body with very short arms. His people were nomadic and they lived by hunting and gathering. अब देखो यहाँ बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग चीज एक निकल के आती है. Exactly, that's exactly why culture is mentioned because humanity was an inevitable part of their culture. क्या हो गया गुलशन? ये बीच बीच में ऐसी बात फिर से बोल देती हूँ इसलिए ऐसे बोलना जरूरी है बेटा, धीरे धीरे ऐसे हिंट करते रहना जरूरी है so that we are not deviated from what we are living in today. So another example of a boy, teenage boy who was suffering from dwarfism in the era where people or in the area where people were majorly hunting and gathering. But he didn't need nursing care, of course, because he was not incapacitated, yet he couldn't run or gather as fast as his peer could. So, but the group would have had to accept that he couldn't run at the same pace or participate in hunting in the same way others did. So, they must have aided him, helped him, found food for him, gathered food for him so that he could have survived. Again, another example of humanity being focused here. Shrestha will not start it here, beta. No, it will go on and on then. So when I say bulldozers, I also mean to say stones. It's not aiming at one religion. I hope you know that. I hope you know how liberal I am. You would possibly, I'll be the most liberal person you'll ever see. ठीक है, Shreya? So it's basically an irony. That's what I'm trying to focus on. Next page. Read this, everyone. Send me done when you're done. That's the last page of the article. Shreya, that relates to being empathetic. Read this page, everyone. Send me done when you're done. Hi, Trasik. No, Basanti Roy, you cannot. Done? Okay, let's move on. Let's see what happens next. Mahita, this page, let's see. So this entire paragraph is rather a useless one because it doesn't contribute anyhow to our main idea of the article. Okay, I would have expected you to skim through this. The moment you start, she gained her undergraduate degree in psychology. आपको पता था ये unnecessary paragraph. You should have left this. What she proposes in papers with Oxenham is, and in a dissertation in progress, is a standard 4-stage method for studying ancient remains of disabled and ill individuals with an eye of understanding their societies. How? We know a lot of things about society by knowing that they were being taken care of. That's a part of their culture, that's a part of their society. She sets up several stages of investigation. First, establishing what was wrong with the person, then describing the impact of the illness and disability, how they would not have been able to do regular course on their own, and the third, concluding what level of care would they have needed and were they provided with that care or not. A paralyzed person, for example, would need direct support, similar to nursing care, while someone like Raminto would need accommodation. He wouldn't need nursing care, he would need accommodation because his lower half was paralyzed. That is to say, tolerance of his limitation and some assistance. So, tolerance of his limitation is that he can't feed himself. So, people would be tolerant about him, they would feed him, and then some help with his day-to-day activities. That's what we understand about the prehistoric times to this article. What's the tone of the author here, everyone? Trasik, you should. What's the tone of the author, everyone? Tone? Might I'll go back and tell you. What's the tone, everybody, before I show you the next article? Explanatory? Yeah. It's more of an expository one. Yes, Tanu, exactly. Expository, I think. Mostly it's expository. Okay? Yeah. Now, expository. Options, Shreya. Options नहीं मिलते बेटा, ये आप ही को बताना पड़ता है. I've taken classes on tone of the author. If you haven't watched them, I am bringing one more class on tone of the author and central idea of the article, third week of May, 8 p.m. I'll tell you the date. Let's go back to the previous article, everyone. But before that, if you're targeting CLAT 2022, our crash course batch 3 has been launched. जल्दी से enroll करो, बहुत ही कम time है आपके पास CLAT 22 के लिए. जल्दी enroll करोगे so clear होने के chances बहुत ज़्यादा बढ़ जाएंगे. ग्लोबल वार्मिंग आपको पता है गार्डियन का फेवरेट है, बट ग्लोबल वार्मिंग अब वार्मर ओशन जो है, it's not only threatening our lives, it's threatening a forest that's underwater. Let's try to read this, how an underwater forest can be threatened. Read this article, send me a done when you're done reading this page. No, Gulshan, only little bit, but mostly expository. I'm glad, Trasik. Read this page, everyone. Some parts, Kirti, some parts are pondering. We know forests are catching fire, but this one is underwater that's being threatened. Coral bleaching is one example. Yes, Anushka, it is. Okay, done everyone? Okay, so the bull kelp forest. Kelp is basically the kind of the growth, underwater growth of plants that survive in colder and nutrient rich uh, sea and oceans. Okay, so they survive only in the colder ones. When the oceans become warmer, every other impact, we know what's going to happen with the world, but the impact would also be with the destruction of kelp forest, because they cannot survive in warmer ocean. So the bull kelp forest of Northern California are sometimes spoken of as the redwood of the sea. And like the redwoods, these forests are in danger. In less than a decade, these outwardly undersea landscape lush with life have all but disappeared along the 200 miles of the coast north. That means disappearing 200 miles. That's massive. The warming climate has set in motion this disaster, and it is unclear whether it can be reversed as greenhouse gas emissions continue to flood the atmosphere. But there are, so you, I'm sure you must have read about the coral reef being destroyed. Did you read that? Yes, because of our infiltration, because of our usage. If you've seen Maldives, articles about Maldives, if you've seen articles about Thailand, there were so many beaches where coral were completely destroyed, and these beaches were shut, completely shut off tourism. One of the most famous beaches in Thailand, it was completely shut. That beach where the beach, I think, if I'm not wrong with the movie, Leonardo DiCaprio's movie was shut. If it's the beach, if I'm not wrong with the name, the beach was completely shut. Maldives, a lot of islands have permanently destroyed their coral reef. So the idea is that human infiltration, our urge to go everywhere, use everything, it's making an impact that's possibly irreversible. Energy related, और पता अभी the movie that I'm referring to, the island that I'm referring to in Thailand, I visited that, I think, good 5-6 years back. It was shut. It's still shut. And if somebody wants to reach that island, you have to trek over 5 kilometers from the other island and then reach that place. Otherwise, you can't take your boats in because you have destroyed it. Yes, in the IPCC's report, that's there. So, Uh, energy-related carbon dioxide emission rose by 6%, the biggest increase ever, and the world began bouncing back from the pandemic. We started bouncing back, we started going to places, carbon emission increased. These kelp forests are yet another ocean casualty of fossil fuel climate disruption. Many, many things have happened. Melting of the glaciers, ice sheets. This is one more thing that has visibly been happening, along with the habitat ruined by coral bleaching, rising sea levels, warming ocean waters, and pronounced loss of Arctic sea ice. So many, many visible things. This also is one of them, apart from coral bleaching and ice sheets melting and multiple other things. Let's move on. Let's see what happens next. I've often visited the kelp forest as a recreational diver. Translucent green-brown stalks rise from the ocean floor to the surface. He's trying to explain the kelp forest while he was diving. Their forest swaying in the current because the water has current, and this forest, of course, would sway in the water. Beams of sunlight shoot through the kelp canopy. It makes a canopy actually, and then the sunlight comes in, turning it into cathedral windows, illuminating strawberry anemones. So basically, these are all examples of sea creatures. And when the sunlight passes through, he says, through the kelp, it looks like they are cathedral windows. Cathedral windows. Have you seen Barcelona's cathedrals? Which is the most famous cathedral in Barcelona? जिसकी सबसे ज़्यादा pictures आती हैं. Do you remember the name? Fossil fuel climate is अभी जो climate जहां हम इतना fossil fuel burn कर रहे हैं कि वो warmer होता जा रहा है. Tanu, that is what it means. Dolly says, ma'am, when will the new batch start for CLAT? Because I'm in class 12 and next year I completely. Dolly, a new batch for 2023 CLAT has been launched. That is one you can join. Yes, you should trust it. These are only examples. Shreya, 11 countries apart from India. Okay, so you remember that? Okay, so Dolly, my video team has replied to you. Here we go. So the cathedral windows होती है, painted glass होता है, उससे जब sunlight आती है, it looks like beautiful, colorful inside, and they don't need lights because the windows are made so. Okay, so harbor seal, swim clothes, all of these are examples of what he sees while he's diving into the kelp forest. From its floating canopies to its holdfast roots, kelp supports coastal. But now he says, why are kelp needed? Why are these forests necessary? They support coastal biodiversity and sequesters more carbon than redwood grove. It hides more carbon while also protecting the coastline from the full force of storms. So we need these forests. California has thousands of acres of giant bull kelp forests shelter finfish, shellfish, seals, sharks, more than 1,000 animals and plant species in all, making it one of the most productive ecosystem of the world. So you know how important this paragraph shows the importance of the kelp forest. Yes, Anjali, that's Sagrada Familia. That's exactly what I was referring to. And the windows, you don't need any tube light inside it in the daytime. It's completely closed, yet the colorful windows, it's breathtakingly beautiful. So, Anjali, that's exactly what I was referring to. La Sagrada Familia. So, nonetheless, back to it. This entire paragraph focuses on the importance of kelp forest. Next page. Read this, everyone. Send me done. Now, a different perspective is coming up here. कैथीड्रल विंडो आया समझ में फाल्गुनिया? चर्च के विंडोज होते हैं, पेंटेड ग्लास होता है, उसमें से जैसे सनलाइट पास होके आती है वैसा उसको फील होता है व्हेन ही इज डाइविंग. What changes the story? But the future does not look good. They have already vanished 95% of these forests. They have already vanished. The collapse of these kelp forests, despite a few local rebounds in 2020 and 21. That means people were trying to restore these forests, but looks like they're not even closer. And a lot of coastal communities rely on fishing and tourism dollars and indigenous traditions of kelp and seaweed harvesting. In 2014, an ocean heat wave that scientists call the blob caused water temperatures to spike. And you know the kelp cannot survive in warmer waters. So they died, it weakened and killed the kelp, which thrives in cold water. Then a disease supercharged by warmer waters, according to a study, devastated sea stars and allowed their prey, purple urchins, to proliferate. अब देखो क्या हुआ? Kelp was dead. And sea stars were also devastated. Plus, purple urchins who would feed on the sea stars, इनका number highly increase हो गया. What would they do? They would eat up the sea stars and their number would go down. These voracious eaters took out almost all the surviving kelp to find the sea stars. These urchins are crazy. Read the next paragraph about how deadly these urchins are. Read this. The disease known as Seastar wasting syndrome melts the bodies of what we used to call starfish, including the many-armed sunflower sea star. That's the disease. It would melt the bodies. This sea star had become the principal urchin predator. But क्योंकि sea star है ही नहीं, तो urchins का number reduce हो नहीं सकता है. Urchins का number reduce नहीं हो रहा है. They would wipe out all the surviving kelp. And unfortunately, today's other top urchin predator, commercial fishermen, target only larger and meatier species of urchin. There are no sea stars available because they're dead because of the disease. Their bodies have melted. Who can control the urchin? Other things that can control the number of urchin are fishermen, but they don't catch the tiny ones. They catch only the meaty and the bigger ones. जिससे अच्छा सा money मिलेगा उनको. Tiny ones, they just leave them. तो उनका number इतना proliferate हो रहा है that is dangerous for the kelp. Since 2013, the small purple urchins have run amok, replacing the complex nearshore kelp forest habitat with urchin barrens. Only and only urchins and barren sea. No kelp around. A seabed carpeted with pastel colored pincushion like urchins. And no kelp because they've eaten up all the kelp. To combat the devastation, divers initially volunteered and now some paid by the state of California. So devastation था, urchins का number increase हो रहा था, kelp reduce हो रहा था. Some volunteers came in, some were paid by the government. They used suction tubes or hammers to destroy the urchins by the tens of thousands and have also begun planting new kelp. So urchins को reduce करना चाह रहे हैं, they're planting new kelp. Newer strategies include collecting, flattening up urchins in tanks for the restaurants and sushi markets so that they can use up urchins. But there's no indication any of this is seriously helping. Hungry urchins who can survive for decades in a zombie state of near starvation will come back, spring back, revive, and take out all the restored kelp. And you can't handpick every urchin from under the ocean. You can't. So they can survive for decades in a zombie-like state. Look how scary it is. Urchins are sea animals. These are sea animals. Yeah. Okay. So they would come back. Still, collaborative efforts continue among fishermen, scientists, academic conservationists with the help of California's Department of Fish. ये जो भी हम कर रहे हैं, that's all artificial, isn't it? Shouldn't we have controlled the temperature at the first place? Yes. If we did not do that, can we do it now? Yes. So the author is trying to focus on the fact that we may be trying to do things to make things better, restore the kelp, kill the urchins, but it doesn't help. The only thing that would help is restoring the temperature of the ocean. That might help the kelp to grow back. At the federal level, these people, I don't think that's necessary. It only tells about what the government does. We'll skip this part. Read this page, everyone. Send me done when you're done. Read this, everyone. Send me done when you're done. Ayush, are you referring to the classes on our YT channel? We will have a series starting the last lap to CLAT very, very soon. It's very likely going to be starting the next week. Dolly, I would recommend you speak to our counselors. They'll help you with everything. Here we go. So it says all of these efforts are heartwarming. People are taking care of it. But the bottom line is there's a downward spiral. Unless until the temperature is controlled of the ocean, we can't do a thing. That is warned that nothing may change until the ocean returns to a cooler, nutrient-rich condition, which still periodically occurs, but we permanently need to restore that. In the longer term, though, ocean heat waves will become more frequent as the planet continues to warm. So, normal heat wave, people living in the north, I don't have to tell you what that is. But sea heat wave, that will also become more common for people. We living near the coast. At the same time, the kelp has been disappearing. Normally, a temperate rainforest has been experiencing its own devastating wildfires. उत्तराखंड की wildfires की न्यूज आई एम श्योर आपने पढ़ी होगी. सो wildfire contextually भी बोल सकते हो kelp forest में, literal wildfire that's happening in up north Uttarakhand as well. All these things are related to climate change, and they are coming together in ways we never thought about, making it very difficult to know what to do other than addressing the climate change. So आप बहुत सारी चीजें कर सकते हो ठीक करने के लिए, but they will come down to only and only one thing: we need to control the climate change and restore that. Everything else will be temporary. Bull kelp is among the fastest growing plants in the world, expanding up to 10 inches a day and stretching 100 feet and more from the ocean bottom to the surface of the sea. But even it can't outpace our failure to slow the warming of our planet. हमारा जो स्पीड है ना जिससे हम वार्मिंग कर रहे हैं अपने प्लैनेट की, उसको यहाँ हमने केल्प की स्पीड को तो पीछे छोड़ दिया है. That's what the line says. We've kept them behind. Our speed is so fast. We need to be doing something about climate change. What's the tone of the author, everybody? Did you like the article? Concerning, highly concerning is the tone. Yes, it's highly concerning. Correct. Okay. Concerning. All right, guys. So I am going to be sharing today's Hindu, Indian Express, Aeon, Guardian in the background. Rather alarming as well. Concerning, alarming dono bol sakte, okay? And let's see what are important articles that we need to read today. I would not see everyone who joined me late. I would not see you tomorrow. Ab Hindu classes alternate days pe hongi, Monday, Wednesday and Friday only. Okay? I would miss that too, Shreya. And I'm so glad that our paths crossed. Descriptive define karna hota hai, Shubham. It can also be alarming, yes. 12:30 पे आज होगी क्लास, yes. But उसका नंबर भी reduce होगा. Sharing today's Hindu and Indian Express in the background. Yes, Trasik, you're right. Bye everyone who's leaving. Everyone who's Hindu paper didn't come today. Why? Let me check it. That shouldn't happen. All the people who are leaving, who are celebrating Eid Mubarak, everyone. I shall see you day after tomorrow. Paper bilkul aaya hai aaj Hindu. Sharing it in the background. Here you go. Here it is. Palak, I don't think so. I don't think so, Palak. Eid Mubarak, everyone. बहुत celebrate करो, have fun, eat a lot, wear new clothes, put mehndi. I shall see you on Wednesday, those who are leaving. So let's look at today's Hindu. AFSP सिर्फ स्किम करना. I'm sure मैंने बहुत सारे आर्टिकल्स दिए, आपको पता है क्या चीज है ये, सिर्फ स्किम. हाँ, this is important. Please, please, ये बहुत important है. Please read this. I think that's a breath of fresh air. इसको पढ़ लेना. No, don't read this. Yes, very good. Read this. Yes, this is also important. Text and context देखते हैं. No. You could skim. Let's look at Indian Express. Let's look at Aeon. Let's look at the Guardian. Let's look at the New York Times. Opinion. Shreya, undoubtedly. Ma'am, only this month we will see you, ma'am, after completion of the exam. Oh, yes. I'll miss you too, my child. Here we are. Let's look at the India must use markets to decarbonize. Yes, important. As Jaishankar, don't, nine, don't read. Why caste among Muslims can, don't read. Ukraine rethinks on hyperglobalization, skim. Access to justice framed skim. What to expect from India's new foreign secretary? No. India's must make the most of the diplomatic attention? No. Embedding yoga in global consciousness? Yes. Indianness is citizenship, not caste. Skim. That's all. Aeon. Love this article. बिल्कुल पढ़ो. Tainted love. Good one. Very good one. The Guardian. ओहो कल्चर कैसे आ गया रुको ओपिनियन this one's good. This one's good. Actually very good. In fact, this as well. Read both of them. The New York Times editorial. No, none. None in the New York Times. Okay. So that's all, everyone. Ma'am, which articles will we have to read in one day? We have the holiday. How will we know which articles are important? Anjali, you'll have to figure that out on your own. Okay. Winding up the class, everyone. Have a very good day. See you at 12:30. Bye, everyone.